Welcome to NFL Daily, where we're getting our clocks set to Greenwich Mean Time. It's Gregg Rosenthal. I'm here in the Chris Wesseling podcast studio, and I'm with my friends Colleen, Wolfe, and Jourdan Rodrigue of The Athletic. There's a lot of games over there in Europe this year.
That's what you just had to Google?
They were announced. Yeah, what is the time zone in London? Because there's a lot of games there, the Dublin and London. We got 6 games over in Europe.
What's it called? The
Greenwich Mean Time.
Is there a Greenwich Nice Time?
Good one. British Summertime is another fun one. And yeah, people will point out, well, they're not all in London. Yes, but for us over here stateside, they're all at the same time, which is 6:30 a.m. Pacific time, which means Colleen will be hosting the pregame show and has to be at work when?
I think that show starts at 4 a.m. Pacific, so it's like a 2 a.m. call time.
That's
but
fun.
The Brazil game, that's 8:15 p.m. Eastern.
Good call. That's different.
So a little different.
That is
Whiplash.
We got games all over the place.
That's the first weekend of the year. That was actually the one game that has not been announced as of this taping. We're taping Tuesday, although it's been reported pretty widely that it's going to be Chiefs-Chargers. So sometimes those reports are wrong, but usually they're right. So we'll see. But yes, the international games were announced. The kickoff game was announced. We have news. We're going to do a new segment, a little Would You Rather type of segment. And we also had time before the show to catch up on our own lives and have a relationship that isn't just about talking on camera, which I think is nourishing, Jourdan.
Yes, as Colleen so eloquently put it, the whole greeting each other, doing the talking thing.
Small talk. I said it's not my thing. I don't really do it. So, yeah, but it is great to see you guys. And you guys are friends. So
you were basically happy that you felt like you knocked it out before the
Check the
show
box.
so that you didn't have to after the show and have this awkward thing where Colleen is literally standing in the doorway, holding the door halfway out and thinking about,
Gregg and I catching up on.
Why am I like this?
Is it safe for me to leave this conversation now? And it's like, it would have been safe the whole time. You can just go if you want to go. It's all fine.
We're low stress.
We love you either way.
Everything in my life is on a running clock, and I wish it wasn't that way, but I'm like, ooh, this is taking time off the clock. I'm insulating my ceiling right now. I got to get back there and do some stuff.
Your
Keem
dog is
breaking out of
probably
crates.
escaped from his keeper. Yes, so we'll get this show going. Like I said, we'll
We're
do
all
some
on
news.
running clocks if you think about it.
Sure are.
And it's shorter than you think. Take advantage.
Yours is the shortest.
I mean, you never know.
I'm just kidding. I wasn't going to say it, and then I did, and now I feel bad that I did. Oh, no.
I mean, I'm taking good care of my body. There's a lot of randomness that comes into
trainer.
that.
Did you know that?
You have a personal trainer?
I mean, it's
Steven.
once a week you work out. Yeah, big Raiders fan.
Oh,
Let's
wow.
talk about the schedule
actually, let me tell Colleen the story. I just want to get your take on this.
Okay.
Is this something you would have done, or maybe you would have not done in this?
Okay.
When we interviewed new Raiders GM John Spytek, Gregg led with the fact that his personal trainer, Steven, is a Raiders fan, and so really hopes that John Spytek is a good GM.
Oh, wow. That's an icebreaker.
Yeah, it was supposed to be about how important the quarterback position. It is a good icebreaker, actually. It's a way to humanize it. We're all on the same level. You're not higher than me, John Spytek,
No.
or my trainer, Steven. All right, let's get to the schedule stuff.
Gregg's a big gym guy now.
Big gym guy.
Not at all.
That put time
Need to
back
go
on
more.
the clock for you.
Cowboys, Eagles is the opener. I was looking at the potential openers last week because my son asked about it. And we went through the ones that would be more exciting than others. He was not excited about Cowboys, Eagles. And I said, watch out for Cowboys, Eagles, because I just feel like that's something the NFL would do. And they would do. Are you excited about it as an Eagles fan? Who would you want week 1?
I love the Cowboys week
okay.
1. I mean, sure, it would be cool to have a rematch, have the Chiefs come in, whatever. They already beat them once. Have the Lions come in because I really did want to see Eagles Lions at some point. I thought that's what we were going to get last year, but we didn't. However, having the Cowboys come into Philadelphia to open the season and have all of the banners and the pomp and circumstance of the Eagles winning the Super Bowl with the Cowboys there to just watch it all and knowing that they have had not the success anywhere near that they would want in the last however many years. It feels like it's been decades and decades, but yeah, I love that matchup.
That's a good point about the having to watch one of your most hated rivals, literally hang championship banners,
Captive audience,
and celebrate and all of that. You know, the Cowboys continue to fail upward in terms of the broadcasting situation because I mean, listen, people they draw a crowd. They're on these TV spots for a reason. I understand that, but to have an opener of a team that hasn't had a winning season, is coming off a losing year. This is the 6th time in 24 years that a team has opened in this slot, despite coming off a losing season, and that's just like, okay, are we just gonna keep handing them these key spots?
I'll push back and just say the Cowboys are not a normal sub 500 team, not just because they're the Cowboys, but because they had 12 wins.
But why
3 straight years before that? They have Dak Prescott. They have people they know. They have Michael Parsons. They have CeeDee Lamb. It is a compelling game, and they feel like a little bit of a different version of a Cowboys because it's a new head coach, because they're coming off the bad season.
So actually,
I'm fine with it.
This is not a playoff team, and I'm tired of treating them like with all the fanfare of the playoff teams. That's all I'm saying here. This is a compelling game for the reasons Colleen said, and I think the Cowboys are actually going to be sneaky good this year.
Ooh.
But I also think that it's like, okay, for 1 second, can we just stop lumping these guys together with the teams that do deserve the spotlight in a kickoff game like this?
They've done a little bit of everything on these opening games. They've had division rivalries. They've had like the up-and-coming team like the Texans. Sometimes they have pretty random teams. I remember the Titans were in this game one year where they were kind of almost served as food for the Patriots. Like it depends. Like they've mixed it up. But the Cowboys are different to me because no other losing team in the NFL won 12 games 3 years in a row before that.
Okay, and what's their postseason record?
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
so here's the thing. Every summer, Greg, and it's we're creeping close to peak summer ranting about the Cowboys hours that we always do because they're always in some sort of contract situation. Deep into the summer, we stand on the tiny table, we advocate for trades, we do all these things. We're getting to the point where we're almost there, and I just want you to remember that you're saying now, oh, we shouldn't treat them like any. The only way that this team actually starts making decisions that make them a more competitive team overall is if they are started to be relegated on the business side as a normal team.
Relegation is what should happen here. We should be relegating.
It's the only thing that'll motivate them to
maybe the Cowboys should be relegated.
It's fair. I don't care about the numbers of it all.
Eagles fan speaks up.
Obviously, the NFL cares about the numbers of it all. I don't care about that. Mine is more like, am I interested in it or not? And in this particular
I'm
case,
personally interested
I am.
in it.
So that's all I really care.
Multiple things can be true at the same time. I'm interested in it, even though I don't think it should be happening.
Yeah, they're a compelling team because
they weren't last year.
Right, they weren't at all.
Not at all. Even like being at training camp last year, I was like, I don't even know what to really talk about.
Even before the injuries, you're right. It does feel different. Micah, all that. We got the international games announced as well on Tuesday. And so, yeah, there's more than there's ever been. I know for the listeners overseas, for our friends overseas that have been on NFL Daily, like Neil Reynolds and Will Gavin and Nat Coombs and everything, it's very exciting for them to see 7 international games. Like we're used to having a bunch in London, and there are 3 in London, but the new one in Dublin, and that it's being spread out all over the place. You got the Friday night game, which we think is Chiefs-Chargers, but we don't know for sure as of this taping. That's going to be the day after Cowboys-Eagles, so that's fun. And then we start having one every week starting in, what is that, week 4. Steelers, Vikings. Vikings are staying overseas. First team ever to do that and play in 2 different countries for 2 straight weeks. So they play the Steelers in week 4 in Dublin, the Browns in week 5 at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And then we have Broncos, Jets, week 6. We have your Los Angeles Rams, Jourdan, going and playing the Jaguars at Wembley. The Jaguars always play at Wembley, although they're only playing 1 London game this year. That's a little different.
Yeah.
Then we have 3 weeks off, and then we have the Berlin game. It's Colts, Falcons, little Michael Penix action, and then wrapping up with the first ever game in Madrid. You can kind of tell they wanted to make sure Dublin and Madrid especially got like really good games this year, and they did. And it's Commanders with Jaden Daniels, and the Dolphins are playing in Madrid. And all those games are, at the same time, like I said, 6:30 Pacific. And except for that Friday night game, they're on NFL Network. So that's got to be the most games NFL Network's had in a while. I'm just throwing this out there. What game stands out to you? How about your Rams going overseas?
You keep saying my Rams.
Well, you cover them. You cover them.
Minority owner.
I own part of the team, actually. Conspiracy theories say. That's going to be fun. It's like a family game, really, because they're the coaching staff and the front office staff. They know each other so well at this point. Obviously, James Gladstone is of the Rams, worked under Les Snead since 2016. Liam Cohen worked under Sean McVay several times over the last 5 years. And then also, like, recently, James Gladstone is hired out of the scouting staff in Los Angeles. There's a couple veteran scouts that are going to be joining him over there in Jacksonville to try to like build the first full year of that culture and of that department. So it's going to be sort of a reunion game. It's been a while since the Rams have either A, played overseas, I believe it was 2019, and then B, actually were scheduled to play overseas, and then everything sort of fell through, but then led to one of the most historic offensive games that sort of ushered in the modern era of the NFL. So there's always something exciting that happens at these overseas games, regardless of who's playing. I'm excited about it. When I covered the Panthers, I got to go to London. I loved it. It was amazing. Can't wait to go back.
Was that the 7 interceptions between the two teams game with Kyle Allen and Jameis?
Oh, that was fantastic.
Because we were at that game. The Around the NFL podcast was at that game.
Yes, I know. And I remember you guys got a really big cheer when you were doing like a lap around the pitch.
Does anything stand out to you, Colleen?
I am so excited for the Dublin game, and
Yes!
I am angling to hopefully go to that game. I know that I will probably be in studio hosting most of the coverage, but if there was one game that I really wanted to go to, it would be Dublin. I'm obviously named Colleen, which means girl in Gaelic, so come on now. And it's like I did go to Dublin when I was like in high school, so many, many years ago. I just can't imagine an NFL game there, knowing what it was like there without an NFL game. And then also, it's Steelers, right? Steelers, Vikings?
Yep.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh, I think, has a huge population of people that identify with Irish heritage. So I could imagine a lot of Steelers fans. I'm sure Minnesota too, maybe. I'm not, maybe.
The Steelers are the home team. They're the ones who have staked the international rights.
Okay, yeah.
Obviously, the Rooneys have an Irish background, was an ambassador for Barack Obama back in the day to Ireland. So
Pittsburgh is a huge Irish town.
It's going to be a whole thing, and it's a great matchup. You kind of knew they were going to give a real contender to them in week 4. But I'm looking forward to all of them. That's what I'm going to say.
Oh, all of them.
There's like no stinkers there. They make sure to send good teams. Like every game at least has a team with a winning record. The Browns and the Jets play a lot of home games now over in the UK, which is interesting.
Have you ever been to Berlin?
I have never been to Berlin. I'd like to be. That's where my father was born.
Really?
My grandparents, they lived there their first 35, 40 years of their life. So my brother has been a lot. He's actually a German citizen. I would love to get over there. I would love to get over to
I know. I want
Dublin.
to go to all of them. All of these look great.
I would accept anyone.
Whoever's
You're amazing,
listening.
Madrid. I'd love to go back, London. I'll take what I can get, and so I'll work on that.
Do you know the Vikings are 4-0 in their international games?
There we go.
Are
this
they?
point? So it's interesting because they've got the back-to-backs here to open the slate. And this like chunky slate, not the Brazil game, which I guess hasn't been announced yet. I don't know when that's gonna be.
Yeah, that's the day after opening.
Yeah, so
night, kickoff.
But that's the thing is like they're flying a little close to the sun. Like they have a very good track record overseas, obviously, but this is flying a little close to the sun because they'll probably have to stay there for a week. Tyler Williams, who runs their sports science department over in Minnesota, they have done a lot of really interesting things with sleep study and travel. So I am actually fascinated by that element of it. This is an experiment that the league is running to see if a team can feasibly do this and still have the output necessary to actually be competitive in one of these really physical games that they have against both of these opponents, and also do the back-to-back because you just know the league wants to put teams out there more.
Right, and the Jags have played back-to-back a handful of times, and teams they've done this data of like if you come early or you come late, and it all has kind of come out in the wash, and people feel strongly one way or another, but it hasn't been as consistent. This will be different because they're going to be playing in 2 different countries, but obviously not far apart.
There's going to be so much travel talk, first of all,
right?
Because anytime the international games are up, all we hear about is like who's arriving when and what they decided to do and why. However, 2026, we're going to have Brisbane. So there's going to be a game in Australia, which will be, I think, so wild because when you're talking about all the different studies and how they figure out just like the the body and how you recover and all of the travel. That's significant.
And it is significant, but the Vikings also get a little bit of an advantage that they have 2 quote unquote road games that aren't really road games. They'll have the extra rest.
And it's
like,
early
calm
in the
down. Like
season.
NBA teams sometimes arrive at like 3:30 a.m. to play the next day. To me, that's much more significant, even when you're only traveling like 2 hours to a game.
It is early in the season too, so their bye week will also come early, which to some you could look at that on paper and say, oh, they have an older roster. I don't know if it's that great that their bye week is that early, but actually more and more as the season has lengthened to the extent that it has and will keep doing that, especially this sort of modern wave of coaches who are planning out the structure of the regular season itself are more so resting starters in the preseason. More and more teams are doing that. And they're actually considering like November as the start of when they really need to start ramping up the workload and
Thanksgiving,
trying to like max into.
Yeah. And some
peak
teams
into
don't
max
take the
output.
bye week when they come back from London. It's usually they get to not exactly choose, but have a preference for it. The Jaguars haven't been taking it after they get back from London. They've just been playing the next week.
Was last year the first time that they didn't take a bye?
Different teams have approached it differently the last few years. Now some teams don't really want it. Some other games were announced. We got Broncos Chiefs on Christmas. Chiefs want to play on Christmas. That's going to be Christmas night. We got the Eagles Bears on Black Friday. They announced like the week 16 Saturday games, which are the games that will go opposite the college football playoffs. I kind of hate that that's happening, but that's Eagles, Commanders, Packers, Bears in primetime. That's also, I know, the day after my family will leave me for the holidays. So a very sad day at my house, but I can watch some football to feel better. All right, let's do a little news quickly before we move on to the segment. Trey Hendrickson is in the news. He is not thrilled. We've learned this in 2 parts. Number one, he released a statement through Adam Schefter on Monday, which I thought was really interesting, just pointing out that no communication has taken place between his camp and the organization after the draft, that essentially he was promised last offseason if he was continued to play at a high level, it would happen, and that coaches are aware, and then in his words, rather than using collaboration to get us to a point to bring me home, they are no longer communicating, capital they, in the statement, which makes me think he like literally wrote it.
Yeah.
I like that.
Oh, no.
And then he also spoke on Tuesday to the media for 20 minutes about it not being happy. He is showing up to OTAs, but he's not in a uniform. Let's listen to Trey Hendrickson.
A little bit transpired between me and Zach. We've tried to keep it as least amount personal as possible, but at some point in this process it becomes personal. Being sent 30 days before mandatory camp, or however many days it is, that if I don't show up I will be fined, alludes to the fact that something won't get done in that time frame, and that with the lack of communication post draft made it evidently clear from my party, meaning my wife, my son, my agent, right? Like, we're talking a small group of people, that I had to inform that this might not work out.
Yeah, that is tough. He also said he does not envision, when he got a direct question about it, any scenario where he would play under his current contract. That sound is courtesy of Mike Petraglia from Cincy.com. Look,
why do the Bengals operate this way?
Yeah.
The annual question.
Why? This is pay your players, take care of your players. I know that they chose to do that already, but with other players in the offense, but this is your main guy. This is your most proven pass rusher. He led the league in sacks. He's a really good player. Seems like also just a really good guy on top of it. Not that that is really anything in the contract, but still, you have this talent right there and you're not communicating with him. Like, I think that that's the worst part, is the lack of communication, and the fact that that's what he got is just a notice that he'll be fined 30 days before showing up if he doesn't go. Like, that's really how they're operating with someone that should be, I don't know, really celebrated in this franchise.
I think with this in a vacuum, I can understand like the business part of it well before this escalated to this point where you're considering potentially not paying someone who you might consider to be an aging asset, despite the production. You're trying to maybe get out before he really starts to decline. You have changes on all over your defense. You scapegoated your defensive coordinator. You have a new person in. All of that, like, you can argue that as a team. To your point, Colleen, what I really cannot stand about this is that they had this whisper network when they were trying to get these 2 receivers done. They had this whisper network put forth what sounded like something coming very much from the team, talking about how, well, we're going to do our best to get all 3 done, and we want to get all 3 done. And only after the fact, you heard another whisper network sort of subtly putting out there that Trey Hendrickson might be the odd man out if these other 2 receivers get paid. And it was made very clear by core players on that team, including the quarterback, that all 3 should be taken care of. And it's like, you're almost hiding the mishandling of this, or the lack of communication, or the kind of how messy this has gotten. You're trying to hide it underneath the fact that, yes, you did do the right thing by getting both receivers done, even though you also got them done too late.
A lot of things came together here. The way that the Bengals do business is one of them, which is a little old school. Katie Blackburn, their executive vice president, the daughter of the owner, Mike Brown, said it's on Hendrickson. This was previous, to be happy at some point, talking about the negotiations. Should be happy at certain rates that maybe he doesn't think he'd be happy at, which Hendrickson found frustrating. So that's where it starts to get personal. And he said on Tuesday in those comments that they're offering him shorter deals. He wants longer deals. Like, it's typical stuff. The problem that the Bengals had this offseason, this is where, if you just ran things a little differently, you could have seen coming, is that Myles Garrett, got his new contract. Max Crosby, who gets a new raise every year and had many years left on his contract, you maybe couldn't have seen that one coming, got another raise. And so Hendrickson is close to their level. He not at their level, but close to their level. And so he's expecting a deal like that. Let's move on to another ownership group, which gets a lot of attention. We've already talked about Stephen Jones and Jared.
I know. I came out like real hot at the Cowboys today. I don't
would
understand.
like to talk more about the Cowboys.
I don't understand where that came from. I'm absorbing the Connie Wolfe energy right now.
I agree. They get talked about way too much.
I love their draft.
on like talk shows, but
walk it back.
I like them on week 1. I mean, there was other good options too, but I would have been fine with like four or 5 options. They talked about George Pickens. I heard this and I just thought it was an interesting insight into how Stephen Jones and the Cowboys view their acquisition, George Pickens.
Well, we look at him, it's just 2 starting receivers out there. We don't necessarily even think we take him as more than a 2 when we were looking at the deal. Certainly we looked at the draft, in terms of scratching an itch. Seeing what might be available there in the draft. But here you get a guy who's got experience, who's had great success in the NFL, obviously a tremendous competitor. He reminds a lot in our building of Dez Bryant in terms of, his competitiveness and, what he brings to the field, his edge.
I love that they actually looked at George Pickens' competitive spirit as a plus. And I get that. Like, on the field, he wants to win badly. That was courtesy, by the way, of Sirius XM's Mad Dog Sports Radio. And on top of that, that was Adam Shine, former, NFL.com, NFL media great.
A lot of people have come through here.
He's been getting a lot of good interviews lately. That quote kind of reminded me of the idea that there is a world where this is an incredible steal for George Pickens. It is so hard to get quality wide receivers, and they will have to pay him like sooner than later, and so that's part of it. But they didn't have to give up much, and if he can be a quality 2, which his production has been, like, they got him at a very cheap price. This could end up being a very good move by the Joneses, which we haven't given them a lot of props lately.
I think 2 things. One, they know also that he is great television on the field. Like, he just is. He plays football. Not only is he like a bona fide elite receiver and has not even scratched what his ceiling potentially is when he puts everything together, but also, like, he plays football like he's on like a WWE like match or something. Like, he is all out, and I get it. He's beefed with more than his share of people, especially defensive backs. Jourdan Lewis had a tweet where he was like, God wanted me to be a Jaguar or something like that, because George Pickens and him have like this legendary battle back and forth. But you haven't actually heard much, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I haven't heard much negative about him off the field. It's all competitive attitude on the field. It's not like the fact that he's, malcontent or whatever. Like, it's more so like he's going to be like a total wild card on the field and make some plays and also do things in between the snaps. And so
his blocking, I would guess, would be the one spot. Like his blocking and like running every route full out if he's not the primary guy. There has been a little bit of that.
Sure. Yeah, sure. But that's not off the field stuff, which is I felt was a bit unfair. I mean, and again, you guys, I just haven't seen it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like it's just that I felt like that was a little bit of an unfair label on him through the process. The other thing that I think that him and his agent David Mulgeta have done very well, by the way, who Jerry Jones is pretending he does not know the name of, is that the Cowboys never pay people early. So what, to your point, they're going to have to pay him at some point. Okay, yeah, but he's going to make more money than he would have made because they're going to drag this out until he needs to make more than what he could have gotten if he signed an extension right now.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm just thinking about your point about him not being a problem off the field. I feel like a lot of people just assumed that he had some type of like issue, maybe just a huge personality to deal with off the field because Pittsburgh decided to move him. But it sounds like they just both kind of needed a fresh start, which maybe that's naive of me to think. But
and DK is going to get the volume of targets.
So they know that that's probably going to cause an issue because he's never played with another number one before. So this will be the first time that George Pickens plays with a number one in Dallas. And Dak Prescott is by far the best quarterback he's ever played with, and Dak can throw all over the field. So it will really be interesting to see how he is in this offense and what Brian Schottenheimer does with these wide receivers, and if George Pickens can sort of progress in his route tree. And I mean, either way, he's going to be able to stretch the field.
Financially, the model would be Jalen Waddle or Devonta Smith, like 2 pluses in terms of, and you get a nice contract, but you're not the number one guy on your own team. Speaking of which, the Packers, I just thought this was a funny bit of media, and we'll take a break after that. But like, there was a statement from Adam Schefter specifically on Monday. It was that he just wanted everyone to know that Jayden Reed's agent, who's Drew Rosenhaus, and the team met last week, and that the team assured Jayden Reed that his status as the team's top receiver is, quote, unaffected by their recent draft picks of Matthew Golden and their third-round pick, Savion Williams, which was so strange to me in a lot of ways. But the number one way it's strange is that Jayden Reed had a career high of like 850 yards last year. So that's weird. He was their top receiver, but it's just weird that why is this getting put out there? I actually just a little ego management that like, don't worry, Jayden Reed, but it's just weird because like it's Jayden Reed. He really hasn't been a top receiver yet.
Jayden, prove it. Like that's all.
This reminds me to make my own statement that just because my twin sister Maddie is actively trying to save our oceans and in turn our planet, my status as my mother's favorite child is unaffected by that development.
Like the whole thing was because it kind of puts Jayden Reed in a weird spot in that room. But yeah, I guess he must have just been unhappy behind the scenes. You think? I don't know what that was all about. I just found it funny.
This comes out because people ask about it, really. I mean, if enough people ask about it, if enough people are wondering about it behind the scenes or sending texts to Drew Rosenhaus.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, the Drew Rosenhaus stamp.
Yeah, but why does Adam Schefter send that tweet?
I'm sure Rosenhaus wanted Schefter to send it for some other.
But why does Drew Rosenhaus want that out there? Like, that doesn't seem like it's good for his client. He wants to show
is on him about it.
It's kind of like a way to keep your client. Maybe
he's agenting. It's his job. By the way, he also cemented your free agent list status as unaffected by other free agent lists, including the one that I worked on for theathletic.com.
Thank you. Yes.
So, as the dominant one when he stopped you on the street. So we can't be knocking the Rosenhaus.
Oh, I'm not knocking him if that's what you got to do. But like, I just wonder what Jordan Love and the offensive coordinator and Matt LaFleur is all thinking like, oh, wait, what? He has the status of our top receiver. That's just something.
Wow, congratulations.
Given out. It'd be one thing if he's like Megatron or something. Anyways, all right, let's take a quick break.
I love this time of year.
Me too. It's my favorite.
Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is out for the season, the Browns linebacker. We mentioned that might be a possibility, so happy trails in terms of his rehab. And Asante Samuel Jr., the highest player left other than Amari Cooper on my top 101 free agent list.
Speaking of which,
Visited the Saints, but he's not going to sign until July. We'll be back after this. Back on NFL Daily.
Yeah, we are.
I do like this time of year. It's just
How could you not?
lower stress,
Summer's on the way.
go see like a matinee of a movie every now and then.
Beach days.
He's trying to hit the beach, but it's Mother's Day weekend, and she's not really a beach fan, so it's tough to push that agenda. But I did make it like late at night with Walker. That was fun.
That's nice.
Shout out to all the listeners out there, by the way. We don't do this enough. Leave a 5-star review on iTunes. That would really help us out. And,
Send us a message on there. in
Tell
the
your
review.
friends, subscribe, subscribe on YouTube, all that stuff. We're trying a new segment. It's just very simple. A Would You Rather segment where we just ask some questions. It could be as big picture as you want, as little picture as you want. It could be anything you want.
So open-ended.
It's a little Would You Rather, and we'll go around. And it's just like questions I'd be curious what your answers to. So I'll start just, would you rather have Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson with the ball in their hands, needing a touchdown to win a game that is very important to you? I
Burrow.
could put your life on the line or something like that, but that seems like
Joe
over the top.
Burrow.
Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow. Just
Why?
last year in those last couple games where the Bengals were fighting for everything to try and win and get into the playoffs, it just felt like, yeah, their luck was so awful at the beginning of the year, but Joe Burrow just was trying desperately to hold everything together. And I felt like if he could have moved a mountain in those moments, he would have. And so I'm going to trust him.
Lamar gets, 2 MVPs, almost a third, but he doesn't get.
he gets
Colleen's
my vote
Oh.
because if worst case scenario he's taken off and running down the field and he's hard to catch in a scramble drill. He extends plays. He can get out of bounds to manage the clock. I just think if not for a drop, at the end of their last season, which I still feel my entire body shrivel up every time I think about it. If not for that, we're having
Does that happen a lot? Are you thinking
possibly
about it a lot.
I have no way. Colleen, you know this. It's
She's just up at night thinking about Mark Andrews.
I'm just rocking in the fetal position in the corner, thinking about poor Mark Andrews, who got in a car accident and then ended his season that way. I think that I pick Lamar on this.
It's a tough one because my instinct is
They're both
Lamar.
so good.
Because he's just better. But I think the reason I asked it sort of gets to, I think, how people think of these two players. And I was wondering if that's changed at all. Because Lamar obviously has a ton of game-winning drives and a lot of great play in the key moments. And ultimately, I think he's a significantly superior player to Joe Burrow so far at the NFL level. So I would go Lamar Jackson, but there is sort of this feeling of Joe Burrow based on what he did last year. Although I will say they lost a lot of those close games. They did have a chance to go even further sometimes, but he did everything that a mortal could be asked to do. And that's why it is interesting. Even as much as I love Lamar, it's not a slam dunk question.
Well, they're both so good. I would like to know the details of the game and the situation.
I said you need a touchdown.
I need to know the defense that they're facing.
2.5 minutes.
Who's healthy, who's
Okay.
not.
Are they playing a shell coverage?
Are we inside? Are
How
we
much
outside?
time is left?
Because Joe,
How many timeouts does either side have?
I love Joe
Did someone
Burrow.
stuff Zach Taylor in a locker?
Right.
Where do we,
He is on track to be a Hall of Famer. He has basically been a top 5 quarterback since he entered the league, which kind of makes you a Hall of Famer. So this is no slight to him. He's just playing next to, I think, Lamar, Allen, and Mahomes are just at slightly different. And I think that Super Bowl run he had where the defense did most of the work is doing a lot of work for him. All right, let's go to the next question. Let's go, Jourdan.
Okay. Would you guys rather? This is a personal preference. Okay. Would you rather travel if you were a player, travel for back-to-back West Coast to East Coast trips without staying east in between, or travel for back-to-back international games while staying in between?
International while staying
Yeah.
in between. I want to stay in the same place for as long as possible. I'm not trying to get on a bunch of different planes and do that whole thing because you know what it's doing? It's taking time off the clock. So I would like to stay in
Off the life clock.
off the life clock, and I got to keep every minute I have. So I'm staying in whatever international locale I'm playing in.
I also think the week away where you have that Monday, Tuesday in London in this case.
Yeah.
Like that's something that not a lot of teams get where you're already adjusted. You don't have as much work to do and you're with your team. That seems great. I know these are family men. Now, they could bring their families over. Some might do that, but it also might not be like the worst thing to have a week where you're just focused on work and camaraderie.
Yeah.
That sounds good to me. And the whole like, oh, they got to adjust to the time zone. It's like, let's calm down. They play one game. Like teams in lots of
on the
sports are
plane.
adjusting
Yeah.
to this sort of stuff all the time where they have to play multiple games a week. Like baseball teams, like tennis players are like arriving from China and playing like the next morning. Then they play till 3 a.m. because tennis is broken and then play like the next. It's like they do it and like people aren't crying for that.
I would just say real quick
They'll be fine.
that there are probably less distractions when you're traveling
Yes.
than when you're at home. So
Yes.
I
Yeah.
feel like you would probably be able to be more dialed in if you
Yeah.
just stay there.
I would say 2 things. One, on your tennis point, these football players are having like active car crashes 200 times a game. So a little bit different getting on a plane and going to another
Sure, but the
location right
tennis
after
players
that.
are also paying
So-
for their trip, so they're not in. Depending on who they are, they're not in the front of the plane. It's a lot going on.
They're not on a
Um,
Dreamliner.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot of teams still do take commercial flights where only the captains have seats that actually are the pods. But
Oof.
to that point, I never actually realized how much of a toll those long East to West Coast flights take. I like the idea of staying out for multiple weeks because until a couple years ago when there was a bunch of players that got injured in the Rams-Lions game and they were stuck on the tarmac overnight and they could not deplane and they got stuck in this, everything was frozen and they couldn't take off and they couldn't deplane. And so they're sitting there with like, one of the guys had like a torn ACL and a torn MCL and is in a tiny airplane seat sitting there overnight. Like they're all
Why
just,
couldn't they
there's 2
deplane?
bathrooms. Like there, it just was, and I'm like,
brutal.
okay,
It's brutal.
the potential for a worst case in between 2 long trips
Yeah.
is too much for me to,
Yeah. And
to not think
sometimes
the other way.
every once in a while, the East Coast teams do stay out here, and do get all the benefits that I was just saying. Not only do you not have
Those
to get on a long
cross-country
plane, the
flights.
Patriots stayed out here for a couple weekends when they did the Los Angeles trip. They do that sometimes. Colleen,
Okay.
you're up next.
All right. Would you rather, gang, spend the rest of your life in an NFL training camp simulation locked in St. Joseph, Missouri during a July heat wave in full pads, or lose the ability to ask questions in perpetuity, leading to a life of declarative statements that exclusively end in exclamation points, both verbalized and written?
Wow.
Wow. Well, as a woman, I couldn't get away with the latter. So I'll pick the former and my skin will look great.
It would be tough to not be able to ask questions.
You can only speak in exclamation points.
I mean, that's with your family.
You do
and
that
stuff,
anyway,
too.
Greg.
Maybe on this show.
Written and verbally. With your family, with your friends.
You'd be known as a person with a total lack of curiosity for the rest of your life. I think I'd have to go the training camp. What were the details of the training
Total
camp?
lack of curiosity.
the rest of your life.
How long am I going to live?
We're back to the clock again.
Yes.
In an NFL training camp simulation locked in St. Joseph, Missouri, where the
Okay.
Chiefs have their training camp during a July heat wave in full pads.
Wait, but that's the entire rest of your life?
That's the entire rest
Oh.
of your life.
Well, then I guess the other way, because you're like you're losing your family and like your entire way of life that the other way. It sucks, but I thought you just had to go there for training camp.
No.
Or, like,
your
do
life,
it-
your life is now just a training camp.
Right.
That's it.
Or even if you had made it, you just go there every year for training camp to do that.
Well, yeah.
That's more of a tough one. Even
Yeah.
then, that's close.
I'd get
Because that's
fed,
like
I'd-
2.5
I'd
weeks.
detox.
right.
I'd get, free lodging. I'd get, you know,
That's fair. Look,
barbecue.
I mean, glass half full over
I'd get
here.
to hit people.
The
you know?
beds are bad. Now, if you could live
could bring an own
forever and
bed.
do that,
Oh, wow.
I might give up the family for that. Yeah.
Living forever at an NFL training camp? Of course Gregg would give up his family for that.
I'm just saying.
We're learning a lot about people.
At some
today.
point, as we sort of alluded to at the time, at some point it just ends, and that's just it. And
This is such a dark show.
that's compelling and scary. So I just want to extend that. I want to be
How
that guy that
is-
lives forever.
right.
How is you having to speak in declarative statements in perpetuity any different from how you are now?
Oh.
It's a tough one.
Exclamation point.
That was what I was going to say on this show.
That's
I
a
don't
tough
think it wouldn't be that different. All right, you're up next,
Okay.
Jourdan.
We love you,
Here we
Gregg.
go.
Okay, this is a little game of Would You Rather that I like to call position extravaganza, or
Okay.
whatever Chris Pabona has decided to call it, which is probably better than whatever I decided to call it. Okay, this I'm gonna go. This is rapid fire. You can't think about this.
Oh my
you
God.
just have to say the first thing that
Okay.
comes into your head, and both of you can go at the same time for chaos. Okay, would you rather have the Eagles offensive line or the Eagles run game? You can't have both.
Offensive line.
Offensive line.
Have the Bucks offensive line or the Bengals wide receivers room?
Bengals wide
Bucks
receiver.
offensive line.
Have the Broncos secondary or the Lions running backs?
Broncos
Bengals.
secondary.
Broncos secondary.
Have the Rams defensive line or the Bucks receivers room?
Bucks receivers room.
Rams defensive line.
Okay, fun game.
I like that. Like games within a game.
I
love
like to
games.
gamify everything. You
we,
know this.
we are hitting as many different
I like
groups.
that.
Oh, Chris, I like what you called it. Jordan's Would You Rather extravaganza.
Extravaganza.
That was nice.
Yes, you can check out the graphic stylings from Chris Pabona on the
On
the
YouTube.
channel on the graphics. The toughest one was Broncos secondary or the Lions running back.
I
'Cause, like,
know.
to me, secondaries, they kind of, just when you think they're the group, they usually don't stay that way for long. It's tough to like bet on them year after year
Yeah.
after year.
And we also haven't seen
but
this
they
version
matter more.
that they have
But
now.
Jahmyr Gibbs is really cool. That's a tough
I also
one.
went young versus getting older,
Yes.
Rams
Mhm.
DL or Bucks receivers. My one that was really hard for me to think about was Bucks O-line or Bengals receivers.
I like that one.
Yeah, that's a Sophie's choice right there.
A lot of those position groups, and you did not know this to be the case, were mentioned in the top 20 position groups in the NFL episode that Nick Shook and I put up just this morning.
No way.
And so
Wow.
many, just a coincidence there.
Look
I
at
think
that.
Eagles offensive
The
line, their
synergy.
tackles
Been
were
spending a lot of time with you, Greg.
we're number one. All right. I will ask you guys this question. You wake up tomorrow morning, your mind has been completely wiped in terms of your football fandom. And you will just wake up as a fan of either the Cowboys or the Giants for the next 10 years. And Colleen,
Greg,
you're not aware at the time you wake up of that you were once an Eagles fan.
this is ridiculous.
But you are aware now in this scenario that you are an Eagles fan. So you have to make that decision. You get the Cowboys or the Giants for the next 10 years. And it's not like half-hearted. You're going to be wearing the starter jackets. You're going to be like on Reddit. You're in it. You don't have a choice of that, but you have to choose one of those two.
Okay. Well, this is a nightmare, and maybe my clock will end before I need to choose a team.
This was directed at
My-
you specifically.
My life clock. All right. Well, if I have to choose between the Cowboys and the Giants, it's pretty simple. It's never going to be the Cowboys. So
Okay.
by default, it's the Giants.
Okay.
I'm going to pick the Cowboys because I feel like that would mean I would have so many new friends who are all just like completely oblivious to the realities of life.
And from all over the
Whoa.
place.
And
They're
from
everywhere.
Everywhere I go, I would find a friend. I would have so many friends.
The one thing you have to give Cowboys fans credit for is it's not like it's been fun the last 30 years. If you're a 40-year-old Cowboys fan,
Uh-huh.
it sucked.
Yeah. I
Like
mean, Jourdan, if
you could
want
say that they're jumping on, and I get it,
I will
but it
only
hasn't
be
been fun.
43 in 10 years, so I won't even have known.
That's true. Actually, you're the perfect
Hey,
age for it
yeah.
because you wouldn't even have been like a really small child.
Oblivious to the cruelty of the world, you know?
Jourdan, if you're looking for more friends, just come out with me.
Mm.
Like, you don't have to be a Cowboys fan.
Deal.
Wrap us up, Colleen.
Okay. I have two more, but I'll just
You
do one more. They're both quick. Okay. Would you rather have Scott Hansen narrate your entire life like a RedZone fever dream, or spend the rest of your days waiting for Aaron Rodgers to make every single decision for your life?
Now, is Scott Hansen narrating the life in your head? Where is it airing?
No.
What is happening?
It's everywhere. It's like you're walking and he is just like a voice behind you. He's omnipresent, essentially.
A built-in friend.
Can
Yes.
other people hear him
Yes.
narrating your life?
Yes.
Oh, I love
You're
that.
at the grocery store. You're at work.
She's reaching for the broccoli. Oh, she's going florets, not full head.
And
wow.
you're like, not now, Scott.
I like that. Except if I'm falling asleep and I'm trying to fall asleep, does he narrate like she's closing her eyes? She's about to get across the end zone. And
Maybe he counts sheep, though, for you.
oh, yeah, I could do that. I could do that.
I don't have a Hansen impression.
And there's Xanax, too.
I mean,
so.
I don't like that. You said you like that. This is kind of like Colleen's, Cowboys-Giants decision for me. They both sound horrible. But having Aaron Rodgers involved in my life in a very meaningful way for the rest of it.
Yeah. To make every decision for you.
You're not going to get worse than that. So I'm definitely taking Scott Hansen.
I like the idea of having like a built-in Scott Hansen just like around,
Yeah,
I like
we'll
it
go
to
to the
make like
Octopops.
1 2-minute social video that you post once. It would get old by that evening. Like it would get
Not
so
for me.
old.
I listen
Yeah,
to sleep
speak for yourself.
podcasts. I like to have noise going the entire time,
All right, I have one more bonus one,
Okay.
real quick. Would you rather take 20 surprise hits from Myles Garrett that could come at any moment over the next 5 years, or
Like in pads or like
Any
a punch?
moment.
no pats, just at any moment he's going to pop up over the next 5 years? 20 times it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It could happen anywhere. It could happen. Maybe you go to church. It could happen at church when
Can
you're in
Scott
line for
Hansen
communion.
narrate
Like,
it?
Scott Hansen, maybe, depending on where you are in these different simulations. Okay, that's the one. Or, so 20 surprise hits from Myles Garrett anytime over the next 5 years, or have 5 cats with you at all times over the next 20 years. At all times.
The cats sounds fun. Yeah.
Ooh, I don't like cats.
They have to be with
Yeah.
you everywhere.
I mean,
I'd take the Myles Garrett.
normalize judging the people who say only dogs are cool or only
You
cats
just have
are cool.
cats
They're
on your
both
arms
cool.
all the
I mean,
time.
they're just following me.
What? I
Yeah.
didn't say cats are uncool.
You said you don't like
cats
them.
Yeah, that's a very different statement than cats are objectively cool. Cats are
Mm.
objectively cool animals.
I
don't-
like cats.
I don't personally like cats, and I'm allergic.
I-
so
That's a problem.
I'll go ahead and take the 20 hits at random moments for Myles Garrett. and, like,
Anytime. He could come
spice-
crashing through this wall.
Spice up my life.
Greg?
I'm much, the cats thing is fine,
Cat guy,
especially
great.
compared to Garrett, because I think the worst thing that could happen
Talk about a car crash.
is it not the hit itself. If you knew when the hits were coming, it's a conversation of which, I mean, the cats thing seems fine though. But that's one thing. But not knowing, living your entire life that
at any
at
moment?
any moment, and you're counting, and you want to feel some sort of relief that 7 months in you've gotten your third hit, and it's like, no, I'm only at 3.
See, I think
Yep.
I would love to exist on that type of adrenaline drip. Honestly,
What?
Like I think I
You're
would
carrying
like to,
like 17 bags of groceries up the steps, and all of a sudden, here he comes.
but I wouldn't know. It would just happen.
It's like a jack in
Like,
the box.
That's the thing. It's like I kind of like the adrenaline spike, just constant drip the rest of your life.
That
Probably a short one.
It's a really good way to look at it. I'm with you there. If we're talking about the end of our lives and something, that is something to keep you in the moment. Like
That's true.
you will be appreciating.
You live in the present.
Can you
everything.
imagine?
Sure.
that
You're
happens.
on like a date and you're sitting in the chair.
That's what I was
and all of a
imagining.
sudden, boom! You're just
You're in a job interview, walking into a job interview.
okay. I would get the job though for pity vote. You know,
It's
Like,
definitely giving Terry Tate office linebacker vibes. A commercial that you may or may not remember,
Yeah.
starring Terry Crews, I believe, from a
You're
long
right.
time ago. We're gonna wrap up. We're in the off season, and if you have anything that has popped into your pop culture life, we'll keep this quick.
Okay.
This summer that you just want to recommend to people. Back on my old podcast, the Jesselnick and Rosenthal Vanity Project. JRVP. We called it Recommendation
Damn,
Station.
I messed it up.
And I miss that. I miss that in
That's fun.
my life. And we're here weekly. So just one. Maybe we'll do it weekly. Maybe
Okay.
not. I'm gonna throw out a movie just in case there's anyone out there that is my speed. I feel like this movie that just came out, Pavements, was made specifically for me, and it left me leaving the theater on a total high. Now, you maybe have to like the movie Pavement, the band Pavement. It's kind of a documentary about them, but not really. It's hard to describe, but it's a fictionalized documentary essentially about them. But if you're at all interested in 90s nostalgia and really creative filmmaking,
That's cool.
Mina Kimes hosted this talk after the show with one of the members of the band and some of the actors in it, like Jason Schwartzman is in it. It's really great. I just have to say, I've never felt like if this at all sounds interesting to you, please go see it in the theater. You should go see Pavements if it's in your city.
Nice.
10 out of 10 from Gregg.
10 out of 10.
That's a high rec.
I've been
right
thinking
there.
about it nonstop ever since. I was like, I cannot believe this was.
Well, now you'll be thinking about whether
they
you want to
nailed
get
it.
hit by Myles Garrett or be
That's
followed
true.
by cats.
That's
So
true.
It's just a little balance there.
I have some music.
Yeah, go for it.
Since you're talking about a band, I have 3 songs that I just keep listening to. So I'll let you guys know what they are. The name of the one song is Grow, and it's by Kidnap and Leo Stannard. It's the Kidnap dub version.
Very specific, but now
Very,
I will
very
look these
Is
up.
this the song
and
that
check it
plays
out.
inside Kima's head?
I don't know.
Or is that Metallica?
That's like AC/DC. Hell's Bells. And then totally different vibe. It's more of like a summer. We're on the beach. Stick Figure, all for you. Love that
Mhm.
one. And then also Night Drive. I don't know if you guys know that song at all. Night Drive by John Splithoff.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Wow.
a great one.
That's a good
I'm
song.
gonna look them all up.
So you're welcome.
First of all, most of the world is going to see this movie, so this is not anything revelatory or anything like that. But go see Sinners. It was one of the best movies I've ever seen
Really?
in probably the last 10 years, if not life. Like
It was one of my best.
it's a masterpiece.
Theater
Yeah.
movie experiences the last 5 years for sure.
And then
Incredible.
shout out to our friends at iHeart. I've recently gotten into the Las Culturistas podcast. Specifically, they do this segment where they rant about something for a minute called I Don't Think So, Honey. And that ties into one of the most pure, wonderful pop culture moments I've seen in a long time, which is this artist who I don't really know much about, but I know the one song that they do. It's Role Model. It's called Sally. And there's a bridge where he brings out different people to play the part of Sally during this bridge. And it's like very wholesome and pure, and everyone dances around and all this stuff. And he was on a late night show and he brought out Bowen Yang to play Sally. And it was like pure joy. So
Oh, I
everyone
love
go
that.
watch that clip. It'll get stuck in your head. Like I said, I don't know really anything about the artist, but that little moment of pure, like it just was wonderful. It was wonderful.
Oh.
And I love that segment in the show that they do.
And what's the name of the show?
And
Las Culturistas.
come on,
Yeah,
that's
great show.
one of the biggest podcasts out there.
You guys.
They are the sinners of podcasts. What a delightful random off-season show. I love it. We will be back. When will we be back? We're going to be back on Wednesday evening. So a little different schedule. We are doing the schedule release
Oh boy.
show. Patrick Claybon, myself, Cynthia Freeland. You can check us out on the NFL channel as well. The Game Day View crew doing all that, but we'll also release a separate podcast that's taped specifically for NFL Daily. Yes. When we know the NFL is going to London, we know the game football's back.